Hamzamo family, here. Welcome to the 54 Corresponding Show on the Black Hot Fire Network. I do trust that you are doing well on the 9th day of March, the year 2021. My name is Spikes, and you are right in, of course, for broadcast where we talk about things to do with the African continent. Coming from the east of Africa, Nairobi studios are actually, our studios are actually based in Nairobi. And we are glad that you are tuning in. In case it is your first time, join us on the Black Hot Fire Network 54 Corresponding Show. You are very, very much welcome. In Swahili, we normally do say karibu sana, which means you are very, very much welcome. And we are delighted that you have taken the time. This is not, another show where we get, to be told about Africa this and about, Africa that. Most of the, all of the information we share right here is actually reliable and factual. And therefore, this is actually a show that you can actually, rely on for information coming from the African continent. Seeing that we are coming live from Nairobi. How has your morning been? Right now it's actually 9 minutes past 2 p.m. And I do hope that you are doing well on this particular day. Before we start off, I want to take us all the way to West Africa. There are two wonderful countries that never get to feature too much on the show. But for today, I want to take us all the way to the West African nation of Togo. Togo is actually a very, very tiny country with a small population, and it's in West Africa. And we do have some proverbs coming all the way from Togo, and I want to share some of the programs. Some of the proverbs from Togo. One of the proverbs actually reads that which has horns cannot be wrapped. That which has horns cannot be wrapped. That is, when you're talking about wrapping up something, maybe you want to wrap up a gift for someone, and you're trying to wrap it up, and then it has sharp pointed edges. It's very, very difficult to also do that. And of course, there is also another one which reads, it's better to walk than cast the road. It is better to walk than cast the road. And the third one reads, in the home of the coward, there is no funeral dirge. In the home of the coward, there is no funeral dirge. And the last one reads, a man that does not lie shall never marry. A man that does not lie shall never marry. That particular one about lying and marriage, I believe Alton is very, very on point. It's actually on point, because if you're truthful, I do not have a thing about, I do not have a thing against people who are really 100% truthful. But sometimes you do find that sometimes the truth gets you in trouble. Sometimes, especially when it comes to some situations that you might be in a relationship. Of course, it's very, very good to be honest. But even the people of Togo do tell us that a man who does not lie, a man that does not lie shall never marry. A man that does not lie shall never marry. I think you can also ponder on the same and let me know what your thinking is. Is it correct? Do you agree with that particular Togolese proverb that says a man that does not lie shall never marry? We do have so many other African communities that do have their own proverbs, and of course that is African wisdom. I also want to take us into the neighboring country, which is not very, very far off. Of course, it's not the direct neighbor, but there is also Mali. And we all know about the history of Mali and the Timbuktu universities or the Timbuktu colleges. I will be sharing a little bit of these, the earliest colleges anywhere in the world. They did happen to be in a place known as Timbuktu in Mali, and that is a place also, I do believe, in the neighboring regions. People did have a lot of knowledge. These were educated men and women who were using these particular resources. One of these Africa's oldest university. I don't believe there are any other universities that did exist before this particular one. But nonetheless, these was some of the images of those particular oldest universities in Africa. And that is why I do believe even the people of Mali do have some, they do have some knowledge. This is the world's largest university in the 12th century in West Africa. And I want to take us to some Malian proverbs, or some proverbs from Mali. And these two read, one does not give a gift without a motive. One does not give a gift without a motive. That is another proverb that is also, perhaps you should also ponder on the same. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you think anyone can just come up to you and give you a gift without a motive? I would just like to know from you. Do you think it's possible that, people can give you gifts without a motive? Unless it's your mom, or unless it's your father, I'm not seeing how people are coming up to you and giving you gifts without a motive. And I get to agree with that particular proverb from Mali. We also do have the second proverb that reads, if you have nothing to do, dig a spinster's grave. If you have nothing to do, dig a spinster's grave. And there's also another one that reads, a woman who offers sex to everyone will get kicked by everyone. A woman who offers sex to everyone will get kicked by everyone. And there's the last one that reads, a deaf man may not have heard the thunder, but he surely will see the rain. A deaf man may not have heard the thunder, but he surely will see the rain. These proverbs are actually passed on from one generation to another generation, and of course, they were passing on teachings. Vital teachings are mostly done by the grandmothers, the grandfathers, and of course, people who are looked as who was looked as role models or role models in the community. And like I said, mostly it was for the elderly people. That is where we did find that is where you could find the sharing of these proverbs. Not just the proverbs, you also do have the narratives. Some narratives were passed over from one generation into another. And I do believe proverbs are very, very instrumental in any African culture to be able to pass on these traditional knowledge from one family or from one generation to another generation. These days, you might not hear as much over the proverbs. You might not hear people also discussing about, the narratives or even some stories. These were just stories I told from oral. Tradition and culture was preserved orally most of the time. People could know about what was done by the previous, maybe 10 generations before them, through stories and through these narratives that were given, from one generation into another. But these days, I think that is gradually, as we have actually gradually forgotten the importance of stories and, of course, narratives, and even these proverbs. And even right now, there's not even a lot of interaction between the older generation and the younger generation. There's a very, very big gap, even though in the way of communication. Right now, you shall find a lot of people online, getting the information online. And perhaps in the earlier days, people will go get their knowledge from the older generations and ask them, how is this done? How are we supposed to, approach this matter and approach that other matter? How are we supposed to deal with these in case that happens? But these days, people just woke up and, pick up their phone and, Google stuff, which, of course, has its advantages and its disadvantages. But nonetheless, it's very, very instrumental that we keep on the tradition and the culture of telling stories, and also passing on these wonderful proverbs, because they do serve as a way of educating, informal education for the young and even the elderly in the communities in which these particular proverbs and stories are shared. We do have, of course, the last bit where we do have, people publishing books, and these are short stories. Some of them are actually told by renowned authors. For example, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. If you come to Kenya, not even just in Kenya, he's a revered writer anywhere on the continent of Africa. You look for books like Ngugi wa Thiong'o, you will be able to see the last bit of remaining history, all the cultures, the stories of our cultures being told in books like by the authors such as Ngugi wa Thiong'o. We also do have Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka is actually a West African writer. Of course, we do have the deceased, who is known as Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe is also another renowned author, who did have a lot of attention. He actually did put together a lot of details in terms of getting to explain what did happen with our cultures. But right now, as it is, people have thrown out every other ounce of our culture outside the window, and instead we all decided now to go on with the matter of westernization. Of course, like I said, it comes at a very very high cost when we lose our own culture, and when we lose our own history. In the words of Marcus Garvey, he actually said a people. He actually did say that a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. That is in the words of Marcus Garvey, who says that people without knowledge of their past, their history, their origin, and their culture is like a tree without roots. And you know what happens to a tree without roots? That is actually a dead one. Nonetheless, I want to remind us really that we do have a tour to Tanzania, and of course that is taking place in the month of April. That is just next month. We are just a few weeks away from going on that particular tour to Tanzania. It's not the very first time that the Black Hot Fan Network is touring Tanzania. We have been to Tanzania before. We have been to Uganda before. We have been to Rwanda before, and we have also been into Kenya, Nairobi. And at this particular time, we have given the opportunity for all the family to join us on this tour. And I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that has signed up for this particular tour. It's going to take place from the 12th of April to the 27th of April. And we shall be in Dar es Salaam. We shall also be touring Zanzibar. These are two wonderful places that you ought to check out. And if you want to join us on that particular tour, it's almost getting too late. I believe by the end of this week, we shall not be taking in anyone else. But so far, I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that will be joining us on that particular tour. It shall be an utter delight. You should be looking forward to that one as well. For me, I'm already starting to think on how to pack up and go on that particular trip, and I see what's good in Dar es Salaam again. I wasn't able to go to Zanzibar last year. We were with the Black Hot Fire Network there, but because of the COVID-19, people had to cancel the plans for Zanzibar because there was an order, and we heard that the borders were to be closed down because of the COVID-19, and therefore no one really wanted to get caught up in the situation, and so people decided it's rather better that we go back, and then we'll have some other time really to go back and see what's good in Dar es Salaam. One of the things that you happen to realize about Dar es Salaam is the culture of the people. The people are very, very hospitable. The hospitality culture there is really on point. You shall be talking to someone and they will not snap you. It's a good thing because you are able to also interact with the family in Swahili. We have been learning Swahili on the Black Hot Fire Network on Saturdays and on Sundays. In case you have missed the classes, make sure to join us at this coming weekend. We shall be conducting the Saturday and the Sunday Swahili classes. It airs at 1 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. Please make sure to join us. And also, quick heads up, we do have another channel, a backup channel. Our channel was taken down, and I want to urge us really to check out Keith Newsome Live on YouTube. Kindly, if you haven't subscribed to this particular channel, we are when you are actually putting out as much truth, and we all know that these particular platforms are owned by the same people that have put up these agendas of hiding the truth. In most of the cases, you will find a lot of strikes and a lot of taking down of the channels. And therefore, please, if you are tuning to this particular broadcast, make sure to subscribe to Keith Newsome Live. It's our backup, and that would be a good look. That would be a good thing, wonderful thing. I want to thank everyone that has been supporting the Black Hot Fire Network. We never take your company and your support for granted. Remember, you can also visit our official website. It's www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And once you are there, please make sure to create your own personal profile. You can click on the login or the sign up tab on the top right. And once you do, you can put up some information. Then you can also head over to the show page. Every Saturdays and Sundays and weekends, we shall be doing a live streaming on that particular platform, not on this one. And therefore, it's very, very important that you also get to subscribe and also, check us out on our official website. Another reminder is that we do have the Black Hot Fire Network app, which is very, very easy to use and also easy to download. Just kindly make sure that you're downloading that particular app. It's on our Google Play Store. And once you do, you will be able to, of course, you will be able, of course, to interact with the family. Also, of course, on the app. And of course, another thing that I would also like to remind us is that, of course, we do have the rest of the content, some of the content that you can also find. And it's available. It's actually available on Spreaker. If you haven't checked out, if you haven't checked out platform on Spreaker, just head over to Twitter. Sorry, Spreaker. Sorry, head over to Spreaker, and once you are there, kindly make sure that you also subscribe to that particular platform, which is on Spreaker, Spreaker.com. We shall also be having a Patreon. We shall also be on Patreon very, very soon. We shall also be putting up our content on Patreon. And if you are on Patreon, you can patronize this on the platform, which is Black Hot Fire as well. It's Black Hot Fire also and Patreon. So those two platforms are also very active. Spreaker as well as a Patreon. We shall be putting out content on those particular ones. We are also on Spotify. I realized that recently, that is when Spotify has opened up to Africa. Spotify I recently opened up its platform. It recently just opened up its platform. I do believe that was since I believe about 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. We normally did not have Spotify in Africa. You could put up your music on other different platforms like iTunes and other different. I don't know, not even iTunes. We had a limited access to Spotify unless you change your IPN. But right now, as it is, Africans really can be able to enjoy, Spotify, the Spotify platforms, in case it's about podcast, maybe in case it's about the music. We recently got, access to Spotify just recently. And I think these African music streamers are soon to access Spotify as it launches in 39 nations. Yes, it's in Kenya. It has actually also launched in Nigeria. These are some of the two biggest economies in Africa: Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and also Egypt. And we also do have some other different countries. So they are talking about Angola, Benin, Botswana, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cape Verde, Cameroon, Chad, Comoros, Ireland, Djibouti, Equatorial Guinea, Eswatini, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, and the rest are Ivory Coast, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritania, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Niger, and Rwanda. And of course, also Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And of course, this is the latest expansion into Africa. And now, of course, African users only got streaming service or VPN, except South Africa, Morocco, and Algeria, which was launched in 2018. In South Africa, Morocco, and Egypt, we do have Spotify, but recently, that is, about a week ago, that is now when we are able to access this particular platform. We are also on Spotify. That is a point I meant to make. You can look for Black Hot Fire Network podcast on Spotify, and you will find some of the content, or you can alternatively use Spreaker in case you want to go back into the information and some of the matters that you have shared here on previous episodes, because we believe it's very, very important to have some backup, some backup, because every other time these particular information is being taken down, and we need it. We need people. We need people to be able to get this particular information as it is. Nonetheless, I want to take us into West Africa, a nation known as Equatorial Guinea. And of course, what has happened is that there was an explosion near the attacks at the city of Bata. And let me share with us this real briefly, and then we shall get into the matter of the day, talking about the Gambia, And anyhow, let me just share these fast. Let me just share these real fast on what has happened with an explosion that did rock the Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea is a tiny country, which is really one of the most unequal countries in Africa. You do find the political elite living very, very well. The political elite living very, very well. And we do have everyone else living in poverty. But Equatorial Guinea explosions at barracks, Rock City or Bata. This is what did happen. Let me share this briefly, and then we shall get on to a discussion of more matters of West Africa. And now, of course, these are a series of some large explosions that a military base rocked the city of Obata in Equatorial Guinea on Sunday, killing at least 20 people and injuring more than 600. And as it is right now, the death toll has risen up to 98. I understand from what is being reported right now, the death toll has risen to 98, which is really, really sad. That's close to 100 people. And let me share these. del vicepresidente de la República en el lugar de los hechos. Insistimos que minutos después de tener... And of course, that is what did happen, and we are hearing about the loss of lives in this particular country. It's very, very tiny. Equatorial Guinea is not really a big country. It's a tiny country on in West Africa. And right now, as it is, they are saying that this particular explosion has been caused by the negligent handling of dynamite, according to a statement from the president, Chidero Guema. The local television showed groups of people pulling bodies from piles of rubble and carrying away some people wrapped in bed sheets. These are dead bodies. And as it is, sometimes I do have a lot of skepticism. When we are told that this is because of some poor handling of dynamite. I do believe sometimes last year we also did have a situation which is very, very similar. That was not in Africa, but it was very, very similar to what we have had. There was the mishandling of some material, and then it actually did result to an explosion. The number of the people killed in the blast in Bata have more than tripled from the initial estimates. The initial estimates were about 2030. The president attributed explosions to negligence and ordered a probe into the accident. This is because of poor handling of dynamite, but of course, at least 98 people have died from injuries sustained in a series of explosions in Equatorial Guinea. The Ministry of Health said that on Monday, after volunteers had rumbles for the body, the new death toll is more than triple the early estimate of 31 killed in the Sunday afternoon blast at a military complex in the coastal city of Bata. Both civilians and military personnel were among the victims. At least 615 people were injured out of 299. They remain hospitalized. The ministry wrote on its Twitter, citing the vice presidency. And it's actually very, very sad to see what has happened because of the mishandling of dynamite. The health ministry also early tweeted in the day that they had prepared a mental health brigade made up of psychiatrists, psychologists, and nurses to attend the victims of the explosions in Bata, because the damages are not just physical but also mental, according to the ministry. And these is some of what you can see from the explosions. And there were 4 explosions in this country. This is the Central African country's largest city and main economic hub on Sunday. The initial explosions happened at around 1 p.m. local time. And fire near the weapons depot at a city in Koatoma military base is believed to have caused a blast. President Chidero Guemas and the vice president father President Chidero Guema, the vice president's father, attributed the blast to negligence and inattention related to handling of the dynamite. There are so many problems in this particular country. Anyhow, let me share these videos as well.
Hello, welcome to Power Ad Spy. Power Ad Spy is an all-in-one ad intelligence tool with a huge database of over 30 million ads that
Panic, confusion, and flight. In the city of Bata, the largest in Equatorial Guinea, residents are in shock over the disaster that struck in their midst. We don't know. We don't know what caused this. We don't know what happened. We only know there was a fire. According to the government, dynamite exploded in the city's military barracks, setting off a series of blasts that left few buildings in Bata undamaged. The situation in the city of Bata is that there were a couple of blasts during this afternoon, and they have caused the loss of several human lives, as well as substantial material damage. In flattened neighborhoods, survivors are pulled from the rubble. They're brought to hospitals, suddenly overwhelmed with people injured by the multiple explosions. Over half of Equatorial Guinea's 1.4 million inhabitants live in Bata. The powerful blasts have shaken not just the city, but the entire country.
That is a little bit on the presentation on the same what did happen in Bata. And that particular country, like I was saying earlier, is a nation where we do have people living in poverty. Half of the population in this country do live in, in Bata. But I was saying that, much more should actually be done, because they're saying it's about negligence of handling dynamite in that particular military base. Then perhaps someone should be held responsible. Or maybe it was not just a coincidence. Maybe someone said that that is a rightful thing for them to do, and I don't believe that might have been fully because of negligence. I am still not convinced by the president's statement. This is a country where we have a president known as Teodoro Nguema, and the son is a vice president, and I think maybe they also do have cousins in top positions. It's run like how can I call it? Like a family business. They run the country like a family business. I can never turn on the notifications for this channel. Why? What is happening with General Mosquito? Thank you so much for joining us. You're saying a good rise in spikes, a good rise into YouTube. I don't know if yesterday you were with us, but they have also struck the other channel, and it's a sad thing to see that every other day it's a strike, every other day it's a strike. But nonetheless, you're saying you cannot be able to can never turn on the notifications for this particular channel. I don't know for what reason. Maybe you're not able, but I know for what reason. It's YouTube. What was I saying? I was talking about the matter of the country of Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea is a tiny country. Sometimes I confuse it to be in West Africa. It's actually in Central Africa, I understand. But nonetheless, this was the only Spanish colony in the continent. And I do believe most of the resources are actually run like it's a state, it's a family business. If you look at if you look at the life of the son of the president of Equatorial Guinea, who happens to be Teodoro Nguema, and Teodoro Nguema, actually doesn't hide anything. He actually takes it to his Instagram and flaunts the kind of a life that he is living. If you go to Instagram and you're an African, especially an African living in in Equatorial Guinea, and then you happen to see the kind of a life that the president's son is living. The president's son is also the vice president, which is raising a lot of questions. And even before the president that came into power over 40 years ago, he actually did take over from his uncle. He actually did take over from his uncle, who was the president before the incoming president. The incoming president has been running the country for over 40 years. I think he's the longest serving president. He's the longest serving president in Africa at the moment. But let me show you the son a little bit on the Instagram so that you can see. What does that mean? Oh, you're asking this action is a turn-off for content that is made for children. I do believe most of the content we have actually labeled is not for kids, because they'll actually come up and check the channel and see that it's a content for kids. But I'll check I will actually check that General Mosquito. I think there's a problem with that as well. Thank you for bringing it up to to our attention. I think there's a problem with that. I'll try see if something can be done on the settings to see if we can change that. But most of the content we put out here, especially on this show, maybe on the Africa Today show, we actually there is an option where you ask if the content is made for kids, and it's not really made for kids. Anyhow, what I was trying to share with us are the images of the president or the vice president, who is the son of the president, in Equatorial Guinea, where the country has been rocked by some explosions, 4 explosions that have claimed the lives of over 98 people. This is steady. It doesn't have any other description, but this is steady. This is on his Instagram, and he's flexing. And you can see him. I think he is also selling the car to the Chinese, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe these are the Chinese. As I believe this is him in a foreign country. Most of these particular countries, what happens is that there is a lot of selling out of the people themselves. This is he's a luxurious living, and you can see him riding these big cars and attending these big parties, and living like the son of the king that he is in this particular country. And where the rest of the people, if you look at the rest of the people and the way they live, this is him taking the jets and flying. This is a country that is very, very much endowed with oil. It has a lot of oil. Equatorial Guinea is a tiny country, but it has a lot of oil resources. And that is why you'll find him on the yacht, spending the money and living it like it is. If you look at these particular images, but the people of Equatorial Guinea, I do believe at some point they will wake up. I do believe at some point you cannot actually have people living in poverty, where you live the best life and flaunt it on Instagram or flaunt it on wherever you want to flaunt it, and then expect that no change will come. If you look at the Qataris, I believe this is where their oil is going to. Most of the oil, I do believe that is where the oil is going to, because if you look at these particular individuals on this particular image, sorry, I do believe this is where these are the emirs, I believe, are from Kuwait. These are the emirs are from Kuwait. And I do believe there's a lot of business going on with Equatorial Guinea and Kuwait, and most of the time it's to the benefit of these top few political elites. But nonetheless, our condolences to the families of those particular people that were affected by the blast on Sunday. The blast did take place on Sunday afternoon, and we are reporting in Equatorial Guinea the death of about 98 people. The previous number reported was just 31. But any life actually counts. Every life and any life actually counts. Nonetheless, I want to get into the matter of the day. But before then, I want to remind us that you do have the Torch Tanzania. Please make sure if you haven't subscribed to this channel and our other backup channel, Keep News Some Live, please make sure that you just get to subscribe and click on that notifications button if you are able to. Kindly do click on that particular tab on the notifications so that you can also be able to find what's good with us. Anyhow, we are talking about the West African nation of the Gambia, and we did have a madman as a president. We did have a madman as a leader, and this is a man known by the name Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh was a leader for that particular country, and what did happen is that he believed to have been chosen by God. And when there was the matter of the HIV and AIDS pandemic in the West African nation of the Gambia, he decided it was a time for him to step up and make his own treatment program for HIV and AIDS. And right now, as it is, of course, in 2018, he was being sued over fraudulent AIDS cure. The people of the Gambia that were forced into this particular program, some of the 3 survivors of the Gambian president, Jammeh HIV/AIDS cure, and this is a cure in quotes, have sued the former leader in a lawsuit filed on Thursday in the nation's High Court. The plaintiffs are seeking financial damages for harm suffered, and the declaration from the High Court that their human rights were violated. The advocacy group AIDS Free World said all the 3 victims underwent a treatment program administered by the government that Yahya Jammeh claimed was a cure for HIV and AIDS. Jammeh announced that he had discovered a cure for the disease in 2007 in front of a group of foreign diplomats, telling them that the treatment was revealed to him by his ancestors in a dream. And he said, my experience in the presidential treatment program was a horror. These are the victims. Fatu Jatta, the plaintiff in the case, said in the age-free world statement, I could have lost my life. Jammeh, a former army colonel, was with no medical training, claimed that a certain mixture of herbs and spices would cure the disease that had plagued Africa for decades. The murky brown concoction was taken daily and lathered on the skin, causing often violent illnesses, according to the age-free world. Jammeh would also pray over patients as a mixture was administered in government facilities. And he was also doing this, I believe, with the Quran. And I don't know. The Gambian President Yahya Jammeh praised while administering his alleged HIV cure to a patient at the State House in Banjul. This is the State House of the Gambia. This was way back in February 2007. The treatment sparked immediate outrage among health professionals who claimed there was no medical basis for the support of the treatment or urged patients to continue taking antiretroviral drugs. And the U.S. envoy to the Gambia, Fadai Guarazimba, was expelled from the country after warning the conclusion had not been assessed by the international health community. And I said there is no cure for AIDS when an individual of a great power claimed otherwise. Human health was jeopardized. And we also do have, he actually called it the alternative. He actually did call it the alternative AIDS cure program. And of course, the people are tired with that nonsense. And the Gambian, of course, the Gambian president was summoned to court for the first time since he was forced out of office for more than a year. The lawyers are for Fatu Jatta, the only woman in the case, filed a suit at the High Court in Banjul on Thursday. And let me share with us also a brief of the video regarding on the same. There is also a commission that has been set up. There is a commission that has been set up. And this particular commission is continuing. It's like a reconciliation effort to really bring together the people of the Gambia after the community was broken apart by this leader known as Yahya Jammeh. I think he was mad, if you ask me. You have some people staying in positions of power while they are not well mentally upstairs. If you ask them what is happening, and they wake up to a dream and say they have to pray over the people with the Quran, and their ancestors have given them the medicine to cure AIDS. And crazy. Share these with us a real brief, and then we shall continue on African matters. Thanks to all that have joined us on the show. We are talking about the West African president, who was Yahya Jammeh. And Yahya Jammeh, among other different atrocities, really including forcing people onto a HIV treatment program, which of course was based on some herbs that he said he actually got the dream or the revelation from his ancestors.
She entered the clinic back in 2007. HIV positive. She was one of the first HIV patients to be treated by former Gambian President Yahya Jammeh. This is Jatta with Jammeh as she entered the clinic back in 2007. There's no cure for HIV and AIDS, and yet the former president of Gambia said he could heal infected patients. Jammeh has a high school degree in biology.
It was a disaster. Some died during the treatment, some died after discharge.
He gave Fatu Jatta herbal potions he mixed himself with milk or boiled water.
It was bitter.
The treatment lasted 9 months.
Believe me, I automatically come weak because I was not used to herbal medicine. And during that time, you cannot just leave, because if you leave, it's another problem for you.
Jammeh was accompanied by military men who made sure the patients took their medicine. Eventually, he discharged her, saying she was cured. In fact, Jatta was close to dying. Medical doctors gave her antiretroviral drugs to fight the illness.
How big it is.
Yahya Jammeh and Health Minister Tanzir Mbao experimented on hundreds of HIV-positive men, women, and children. In 2007, the former Gambian president showed Al Jazeera how he cured them. That man has since died.
Most patients treated by Yahya Jammeh are now dead, buried in cemeteries like this one. Only 2% of the population is HIV positive, but doctors believe the rate of infection is much higher. People were scared to talk about the illness, fearing that they would end up in one of Yahya Jammeh's clinics.
Hands-on Care is one of the few HIV and AIDS clinics in the country. Here, patients come for care and to get antiretroviral drugs. Some say Jammeh's claim he could cure HIV has been a major setback in the fight against the virus in Gambia.
He was lying to the country. If you tell people that you can cure them, and along the line they die, to me, he was just fooling us.
Fatu Jatta still wonders why Jammeh was so fascinated with HIV and AIDS. Did he believe in his herbal treatments? Did he try his own medicines? Questions the ex-president in exile is unlikely to answer anytime soon. She's now using her experience to convince infected patients to follow medical treatment. She tells this man that there are no miracles, no cure, but there's a life with HIV, a life worth living. Nicholas Honk, Al Jazeera.
And of course, that is a presentation, and you can also see more people who, you can also get to understand a little bit about Jammeh. And before I share these, let me just put caveat. Let me just put this particular on a disclaimer. I want to say before I share these as well, because I do believe it's important that we get to understand the kind of leadership that you have had in that particular country. Because the leadership also can tell you a little bit more about the people. If you look at the leadership that the people have had, it tells you a lot about the current state of affairs in the Gambia. You can talk to a Gambian and you're wondering what is made this particular Gambian this particular kind of a way. I do believe one of the things has to do with the matter of the previous leadership and the kind of oppression that people have faced in these West African nation.
Gambia's Independence Day, a chance for international diplomats to mingle and enjoy Jammeh's hospitality on the grounds of State House, said to be Africa's smallest presidential palace. In this tiny African state, where very little happens, you might think there'd only be one topic of conversation. But HIV/AIDS doesn't seem to be on the agenda. And when I tried to bring up the subject, not everyone was eager to talk. Good evening. Introduce myself. I'm Andrew Simmons, Bureau Chief of the Zero. We're here to film a documentary on the campaign here by His Excellency the President. Watch the nervous glances of the US ambassador in the middle here as he tries to plan an escape route. A not too subtle walk away is his only option. Watching from the sidelines, some of Jammeh's patients ushered in so that the dignitaries will be impressed with the president's healing powers. But there are some who are prepared to talk, and their diplomatic language doesn't dismiss Jammeh's claims of a cure for AIDS and asthma.
What we want His Excellency to do is to allow the international health institutions as soon as possible to come into the matter to establish the treatment he's given to these people and how far this treatment is going. And as soon as that is done, I tell you, we have no qualms, we have no problems today.
think we have to give him a chance. I think we have to give him a chance. He's African, and there are a lot of Africans who are expecting for new ways to be treated. Now we have to give time to time and see if it works. But if he's doing something, I think it's worthwhile to see how it goes. And we have to wish him success.
Finding someone who'll criticize Jammeh in front of a camera is much harder. Perhaps that's because those who do don't last very long here. Like the UN permanent representative, who was told to leave after suggesting that Jammeh's claims for a cure could encourage risky behavior and worsen Africa's AIDS tragedy. No sooner have the diplomats left than he's heading back to the treatment room for another long night of presidential healing. I must put to you some of the reaction to the project here. Reaction from scientists such as Professor Jerry Courvadier from South Africa, an HIV researcher, who says that you have violated every foundation of public health and science in making these claims. Now, how do you respond to that sort of?
I don't respond to a non-entity.
But do you?
Maybe he knows the origin of AIDS. Who is he to talk about what I do? So I will not respond because science is about natural laws.
But is science about secrets?
I don't owe that idiot any explanation because he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything about science. Who is this fool to ask me about violating whose rule? Is he the one who makes rules?
He claims that the science involved here.
He doesn't know anything about it. Is he the one who, maybe he was part and parcel of those who created the virus in the first place. So he knows what should cure it and what should not cure it. But what is more important is, I should, even, you should not even waste time talking about an ignorant person.
Professor Jerry Courvadier is an internationally renowned expert on AIDS. He holds the Nelson Mandela Award for Health and Human Rights in recognition of his work towards understanding the HIV epidemic. President Jammeh has a high school certificate in biology and chemistry. All of Jammeh's patients are HIV positive. Some have been living with the virus for years. During their treatment, many patients gain weight and look physically better in the few weeks they've been under Jammeh's care. But AIDS experts will tell you that can be down to a variety of factors, not least the psychological effect on patients. They all want to feel better. They all desperately want the treatment to work. Just that can be enough to make the body fight back against the HIV virus. But it's only temporary. The virus is still there, in the body, gradually taking control. The best treatment so far, recognized by doctors the world over, is a lifetime taking antiretroviral drugs, or ARVs. These hold the HIV virus at bay. Jammeh's patients have to stop taking ARVs. It's a condition of their treatment. Their lives are in.
Of course, I will not be sharing the whole of that particular video on that particular, on his presentation on the same. But nonetheless, it's worth noting that none of the individuals on this particular platform was certain to have been cured at any kind of a juncture. And the president right there talks about science being about natural laws. I do agree to that particular extent. But when it comes to being questioned about, how he moves about, curing HIV and AIDS, or the number of people that he did cure, and none of them. But of course, he was summoned in court because of him risking and violating the human rights of these particular individuals that were forcibly put in that particular program, and they were put in the program to make sure that they were cured, but they were forced, they were coerced into even making testimonies of having been cured. And this is the wrong thing that is happening with the African leadership. We do have an African leadership that is mainly not even concerned about people; it's just concerned about themselves. I think he also had some mental problems because there has also to be some questions are being asked. There has also been some questions, and for him, he felt and he believed that he is not responsible. He's not really responsible. He's not obligated to be answering any questions to anyone. And that is why you do see him right there talking about, no, that person is an idiot. I cannot answer anything to him. Maybe he's the one who caused the AIDS, and therefore we should not be answering anyone to the South African researcher. And all these other different, and all these different claims. It's very, very difficult to ascertain the fact that there was any scientific process to it. He does have a certificate in biology from a high school, and that is what it is. Of course, he used to be a colonel. He does not have any background as a health expert or any background as a medical practitioner, But then again, we did see him coercing people, and most of them did actually die. Some of them that were not returned to the ALV programs, they did succumb and they died from AIDS and AIDS. And maybe perhaps they would have lived longer. We all know about the claims about the DLC being the origin of the HIV and AIDS in Africa. But nonetheless, I would just like to reiterate the fact that that is not the origin. And I do believe that it was actually made in the laboratory. This is a virus that has been developed for population control. But nonetheless, I want to give us also some heads up and on what has been happening with the case of Senegal. Yesterday on the 54 Correspondent Show, I was getting to remind us that Senegal was a place that used to be peaceful, but right now, as it is, Senegal is really not at peace. Yesterday, I was on Instagram and I was watching one of the protests. I think there was an individual who actually was sharing the protests are taking place in Senegal, and the youth will keep at it. I believe the youth will continue to keep at it until there is an amicable solution. We do have the arrest of the leader, the opposition leader. And this particular arrest has sparked a lot of protests demanding the release of the opposition leader, who is known as Sonko, Osman Sonko. But the opposition leader urges protesters to stay out massively and come out massively and peacefully. That is according to the opposition leader, Osman Sonko. And he has said that he is calling for a much larger protest, but urged non-violence after days of deadly clashes in the West African states, sparked by his recent arrest. President Macky Sall also called for calm, appealing to, in an address to the nation, for protesters to avoid confrontation. And the opposition leader Sonko was freed from detention on Monday, but also charged with rape, while protesters hurled rocks at riot police in the capital, Dakar. Usually considered as a beacon of stability in the region, Senegal has been rocked by its worst unrest in the years. He has been released. But speaking in Dakar, after his release, the opposition leader said the revolution has already started and nobody can stop it. In the words of Bob Marley, nobody can stop reggae. Let me play this video, and then we shall be almost winding up on the 54 Correspondent Show. I hope you get to have a better view of the African continent and what happens in many West Africa, many African states. In regards to economics, in regards to politics, in regards to, why is it giving me these? In regards to social economic matters and other facets of life, right here on the Black Hot Fire Network 54 Correspondent Show. There was thousands of protesters, but he has said that they protest all the revolution. He has called it the revolution. The revolution, I believe, is about to continue. And we shall be hearing and sharing more on the same.
After securing his release on Monday, the Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko acknowledged the protesters who took part in historical demonstrations after he was arrested by the police. After securing his release on Monday, the Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko acknowledged the protesters who took part in historical demonstrations after he was arrested by the police. The revolution has already begun. Nothing can stop it. The people have taken responsibility and understood what is at stake, conducting this revolution to its end. That is to say, by 2024 at least. In our own memory, we have never experienced in this country ever. Many crises have been gone through, political crises, but we have never experienced one like this one. It is really serious because the arrival of Macky Sall had raised the hopes of all Senegalese, people with a cry of promise. The people say that democracy is progress. That's what you expect from a head of state, and not to spend all his time putting billions to pay for laboratories to plot against his opponents. On the other hand, the Senegalese president has urged peace to prevail for a better momentum of the country. Let us all together silence our resentments and avoid the confrontations that leads to the worst. All this positive energy shows that in moments of doubt, anxiety, and turbulence, our social regulators work. Opposition leader Ousmane Sonko was freed from detention on Monday, but also charged with rape, while protesters hurled rocks at riot police in the capital, Dakar. Usually considered a beacon of stability in a volatile region, Senegal has been rocked by its worst unrest in years.
And that is a little bit on what has been happening in Senegal. But like you heard, Senegal is really considered to be relatively stable. And if you compare Senegal to other areas like Burkina Faso and Mali, you realize that if you were to go and relocate to any West African states, perhaps you'd rather be in Senegal where the action is. But really, not really action in that particular kind of regard. There is some sort of a sobriety in the way political affairs are conducted. But now we are seeing Macky Sall, taking the politics to another level, trying to arresting actually the opposition leader who is known as Ousmane Sonko. And of course, the people outside, I do believe this is a kind of a spirit that has to be with the African youth. They will not just take any other kind of an answer. They have also to go out there and also ask questions and also demand from the government, not just being cowed down and living in full submission, because there has to be civil disobedience for there to be a balance and a check. I would like to call that a balance and check on the government, holding the government are really also accountable when it comes to political affairs that it wants to conduct. In some cases, we also heard about Nigeria, where there was a protester earlier last year. It has to do with the End SARS. It was known as the End SARS movement. And now, of course, it did achieve, to some extent, some results. But I do believe we have not seen a full, not really the full realization of the agenda of that particular End SARS movement. There was a disbanding of the SARS force, which of course was terrorizing the public. But I do believe much more so needs to be done. And the Nigerian youth also will be rising up the same way the Senegalese youth are rising up, just like they also did in Sudan. The protest, of course, is the power to the people. And I do believe at the end of the day, people have power over what is being run all over the state of affairs are being conducted in any African nation, which is what people need to realize and come together, unite, and become a force of change and a change for the better in whatever country that might be. This has been the 54 Correspondent Show on the Black Fire Network. I want to thank you, General Mosquito. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Keith for giving us this particular platform. We love and appreciate the work that is going on with the Black Fire family. We are your what? We are like, what can I call it? We are your eyes on the ground. In case you would like to know what is happening across the beautiful African continent, you can write to us, blackfireafrica@gmail.com. And I will be glad to respond to you in regards to any matters that we discuss right here on the Black Fire Network 54 Correspondent Show, and also on other issues such as questions, queries, comments, and feedback. We really, really would appreciate that. Till next time, much peace and love. I want to say kwaheri.